Hello there guys, it's Captain Invisible here and welcome to turn number 2 of the Tyronian custom campaign mod for Medieval 2 Total War. This is turn number 2, as I said, for the Principality of the Amber Plains, which we renamed ourselves last turn, so on turn 1. So renames are encouraged. It is part of the rules, which I will go over in this turn because I didn't go over the rules last turn, and this one's fairly bland. There's not a lot going on in this turn, so we can just go ahead and play around with some of the rules, and I can go over things in a bit more detail with you. So without further ado, let's get into the turn and see what is going on in this turn. There we are. So, as I expected, we did get a suitable prince. Well, we did get a prince. Unfortunately, he is 49. He's okay, given... He's an okay one for our first one, but to be honest, being 49 is not okay for our 20-year-old daughter, so let's skip that. I have nothing against age gaps at all, but he's not going to be able to be very useful for very long. I would like a nice 21-year-old startup general who we can mould into the perfect warrior, that sort of deal, instead of a 49-year-old who is well past his prime already. So, we could probably take a look at the end of turn report actually, because this is the first one that kind of matters but isn't really as important as later ones will be, because we're all fairly new to this campaign. We're all fairly we're all starting up, so a lot of us have been in better positions than other players have to start with, but obviously we will mould that as the campaign goes on. So we lost some profits last turn, but we did make we do have 1,421 to play around with this turn, so we can have a play around with that. A lot of that is probably building expenditures. We did build a lot last turn, and this turn we won't have to build anything or recruit anything, so we are going to be making more profits over the following turns. In terms of military, the AI Tyranids are the top, which is scary because the Tyranids have some pretty nice horse archers, and they obviously have elephants as well, but I don't think they start with elephants. That would just be really overpowered for the campaign, considering we all start with cheap fodder units. Financially, the Turks are top. Again, no surprise that an AI faction is top. It's always going to happen because the AI cheats, but the Turks are the ones that are ahead of that. We are at least top in the production, but as I will show you, it doesn't really mean anything because there are probably like 5 other factions that are top in production. We just happen to be the one that appear on the list. I'm pretty sure that one of the other factions appear on the list when it's their turn, so I don't really consider that much, but at least we are up there and our production isn't as shoddy as some of the other factions, especially the AI. That's quite funny to see that their production isn't that high. Population, we are second in population, which is good. It means that we will be able to tax the population a bit more. The top is the Aztec Empire. Again, not surprising. Even if they weren't an AI faction, I think the Aztecs would dominate that section anyway, because they have a lot of population and a lot of their units are infantry, so in big sort of unit sizes, so they're going to have a lot of population to be able to pump all that out. And then overall the Aztec Empire is top, which is the Aztecs are all the way down this coast, all the way over here, so they sort of dominate all of these silver mines, which is quite amusing given the unfortunate situation that landed them in our timeline. So that's a little nod to the old Spanish invasion of Mexico and sort of the Americans, and ended up causing them problems later on as well. So a few things we shall do. We'll start over here. we're going to get our Grand Duke, and we're going to take all of his units out to lay siege to Tivador. Now we've only got when I play tested this, when I play tested it in single player, which might be the reason why it's not the same, but when I play tested it in single player, I could get a ram and a ladder all in one turn queue order. For some reason it's gone up to 2, which is a problem. I need 2 siege equipments because I need to distract the AI whilst I get in, otherwise it's going to be a slogfest for the gate, and unless I risk my general, I really don't think I'm going to win a slogfest at the gate against spearmen and such, especially with the towers and archers firing in. It's going to be a bloodbath. So we only have 62 points to play with, which doesn't get us a ladder and a ram, but it does get us quite a few ladders. It gets us like 3 or 4, but we only need 2 for now. In fact, I might just get 4, just go crazy. I mean, it won't give us 4, it'll only give us 2 because we only have 2 infantry units that are capable of carrying them. But it'll having 2 ladders means that we can distract the AI from actually having a cohesive block against us, so we can maybe split the attention of the archers and the infantry, and hopefully find a way to sneak into the settlement that way. So we're going to maintain that siege. The AI should not sally out against this force. It does have more numbers, but with the general, especially our Grand Duke, I think it keeps the AI in check. So we will obviously see about that. Again, these archers are quite a pain. The cavalry isn't too bad because I could probably just run them down with my general, but the archers are going to be a pain, and these spearmen will kill my general. My woodsman should be able to kill the spearmen, but against the archers as well, the archers will just rip my woodsman to shreds, so that is going to be an issue. I don't know what will happen to this fort as well, but I do need all of my hold out for 0 turns, so it will probably disappear, but I do need all of my troops to maintain this siege, so if it disappears, it disappears. We'll just build a new one. It's not an issue. And then our Prince of Vladimir needs to march on this settlement. He can build a ram. It's going to take 2 turns, but we need a crossbowman anyway. And what that should do is that should increase his... Yeah, just 1 turn now for the ram, and we can quite happily have 1 ram here because we are going to be using our archers mainly to weaken the enemy force anyway. The force in here is quite considerable. It's got these pikemen which should die to archers. It's got a unit of crossbowmen, and then it's got these armoured sergeants and this mailed knight. So it does have some quite a strong force for such an early town, but our archer superiority, especially with Kazakhs as well, should be able to win out on that. Again, I play tested it, so it should go fairly easy for us, and easier than this settlement will, but again, it all depends where the AI places its troops. With this siege as well, we do have a mission to take this settlement, Tivador, take rebel settlement, so that is good. That will mean that next turn we will get that victory, and hopefully our best troops. It said it would give us our best troops. Our best troops should be the Kazakhs from this stables that we're currently building. So that's going to be really good to have. Did it say 2 of them? Let's look. Oh, it just says some. I think it'll give us 2 at Dathala. Again, when I play tested it, it actually gave us the ballista. Why it connected the 2 together, I don't know, but hopefully it'll give us the Kazakhs from these stables, which will give us more control over that. So that is pretty much the turn. That is just done for movement. I want to leave Antonia here to try and get a better prince. We're currently building everything we need to. The stables over here, the inn over here. We do actually have, sorry, the diplomat to move. He's going to move over here towards England and the Holy Roman Empire area, sort of over here. It's going to take him a while, but better that than through all of the AIs. I will send a diplomat down this way at some point, but AIs aren't important. This diplomat could probably go to England. He could probably cut down here. It could probably cut down here anyways. Is that going to be something that he can actually do? Oh yeah, he can cut down here. So he could even cut through the Byzantines. Cut through to the Byzantines and say hi. Then cut up through Scotland and say hello, up through England, and then up through Holy Roman Empire. So he can actually do a bit of a zigzag, which is quite good. I think I'm going to leave down here for now. He might be able to backtrack, or I might get another diplomat, but because the Mongols are here and because I've got the Turks, it would have to mean going through here to actually get to Venice and the Papal States, so I'll just leave that for now. But that's construction and things all sorted. Yeah, there's no point recruiting anything. Our finances are not too great. We are going to need to up them. Certainly taking these settlements and sacking them, or just the fact of taking these settlements will give us more money. It's just that we don't have... We're sort of balanced at the moment. We're not making too much profit, but again, we're not losing too much either. So that's always good. So in terms of the rules for this campaign, now that we've finished everything, so some of them are fairly typical hot seat rules. Some are quite interesting, which is why I wanted a full video just to go through them. So the first one is no Crusades or Jihads. I think that would screw us over if we suddenly allowed Jihads. I really don't know whether the Turks and the Egyptians are likely to be able to call a jihad. They're doing the grand campaign. I really don't know whether it's something that they can do in this campaign or whether it's something that is blocked. If they do, we'll have to see which settlement that they call a jihad on. It might not be us. It might be one of the Mongol or Tyranid settlements. I don't know whether Tyranids are Muslims either. Or it might be they may even call it, I think, they call it on Baghdad, so in the Grand Campaign, so they might call it on a rebel settlement, who knows, or they might call it on the Papal States, which would be amusing. So yeah, I don't know whether it's fully blocked or whether it's just blocked for the human players and the AI can still do it. Who knows? I'm not going to judge. The second one, which is again quite interesting, is that you cannot send a message to other players without a diplomat. So, like here. Oh no, I can't. Oh no, yeah, I can't send one to the AI, but I can send someone to the Holy Empire of the Sunrise Coast, which is an awesome name. So I can just, I would normally just be able to send a message, but I can't in this within the rules, because you have to have a diplomat to be able to instigate messages, hence why I'm sending my diplomat over to try and talk to all of these players that are sort of grouped up all the way over here, because it makes sense. It makes sense that a diplomat would be the one to engage the players' factions first, and then a message would come off that. He's going to be the one that's calling diplomacy. It's not going to come from a random faction who happens to know where you are. Plus, I don't know where any of these factions are, so I would have to find someone's settlement first and then go, oh, you're part of the, you're part of the sort of holy empire of the Sunrise Coast. Oh, cool. Can you pass this message on to your leader? It's from my leader over in the Principality of the Amber Plains. It's that sort of diplomatic address that kind of makes the diplomacy more fun in this one. It also means that diplomats are actually worth something. It has to be done by a diplomat. the first engagement has to be done by a diplomat, which means that diplomats are going to be more useful, at least in the early stages. As soon as you've spoken to everyone, they're going to be a bit redundant for nothing other than sort of the calling ceasefires and doing other things like that. But at least in the early part, they are going to be super important agents, which is quite nice to see, because diplomats don't get enough love in other campaigns. Renames of settlements are encouraged, or renames in general are encouraged. Now we did rename our faction to the Principality of the Amber Plains instead of Russia, because who's Russia in this time frame? But as far as settlements go, I think I'm just going to leave the settlements. I like DeWalt. Kel's not too bad, and Dathler. Might just rename them so that I can say them a bit better, like Deswalt and Dethala. Kel's okay, but yeah, I might rename them to make them more pronounceable for my for me being Yorkshireman. We do have our own weird names, but again, I can't. It would make it far easier just to pronounce them as opposed to trying to figure out how to pronounce them before I say them. So yeah, I might do that at a later stage, but for now I'm quite happy with the names. I'm not going to change the names too much. Simply because I think that they have their own personality just by having their own names. If I start renaming them names from, say, Game of Thrones or something, it might come across as them trying to take on other personalities instead of having their own, which, you know, I like things to have their own individual spin. And you know, they already have renames. It's not like they're called Moscow or something from our own world, so that's quite fun in itself. Another really interesting rule that was put into this one: we are limited to a maximum of one spy and one assassin. I think I mentioned this earlier last turn, but especially in this campaign, spies are not going to be as useful in terms of opening gates and things, which is great. You know, I have had problems in the past with my spies and other people's spies in general. I've had situations where I've had 3, 4, 5 spies in a settlement, and sort of 78% chance of opening the gates, and they've still not been able to open the gates. And I've had situations where I've had one level 2 spy with a 32% chance of opening the gates, who has managed to open the gates on a settlement that I really do not care much for. I really dislike the whole RNG aspect of spy percentage chances. It's something that I agree with in some sense, but I just really dislike it. It's something that can really ruin a campaign for me if I put 2 spies in a settlement hoping that they're going to defend it, and then all of a sudden that settlement's taken because someone managed to get a 9% chance on a spy, open the gates, and then have the entire army just come in and destroy the settlement. It's something that really puts me off spies in general and the whole planning aspect of that, and makes me want to favour siege equipment more, which slows you down, but you know, it is 100% chance success rate of actually getting into a settlement. So I'm glad it's out of this one, and it means that, again, like I'm doing with the Ballista Maker, siege equipment is going to be more important. It's going to focus on the planning of an attack instead of just a whimful, hey, you know, I've got this spy in this settlement, let's attack this one. You know, it's more of a planning stage of, okay, I'm building siege equipment, it's going to take me 3-4 turns to get to a settlement, so over here, so I have to plan merging my army at that point and really pushing forward in sort of a grind as opposed to just a whimful, you know, I can get a spy in here and do some stuff. So yeah, call me bitter, but I mean, the whole aspect of your RNG spying is really not my thing. I am an aggressive player, but that's way too aggressive, and it's too reliant on, I say, luck and random things happening. So yeah, not a big fan of spies in general. But this one means that we can have one elite spy, and I don't mind an elite spy getting into a settlement that I don't have a spy in because my elite spy is somewhere else. This one means that spies are much more valuable, which is great. It means that they can't be spammed, and it means that they are more. You have to keep them and keep them safe a bit more because there are assassins running around. There is at least one assassin that is fair game for everything except for faction leaders and faction heirs. So your high level spy might actually get assassinated, and then you have to go back to using a level 2 spy. So I like the combination of having one spy and one assassin, and the assassin being limited to generals and captains and other agents, simply because it means that he's going to want to assassinate the spies a lot more often, just to stop the spies from getting into that one settlement that you don't happen to have defended by a spy. And it means that you can't defend settlements with spies, that your spies are going to be mainly aggressive units, which is quite fun as well, because it means that you can't just spam spies and have a couple defending and have a couple attacking. If you manage to get into a settlement with a spy, the chances are you're probably going to open the gates of that settlement, which is good. It's fun doing it that way. It's just not fun when you have 5, 6, 7 spies trying to open the same gate and they seem to not be able to because reasons. So yeah, it's a nice fun one. That I do enjoy that one a lot more because it allows for siege equipment a bit more, and it means that spies are a bit more valuable in general. There is the obvious one of no quick saving, quick loading. That's in pretty much all hot seats now, I think. Bribing is allowed. I don't know a hot seat where bribing wasn't allowed. I didn't know it was a thing. Bribing is hard in general anyway, unless you have tons of money, which is not really a thing at this early stage. We'll see later on, but it's not really going to be that important at this early stage. What would be funny, what I think would be funny is the Aztecs with their silver mines bribing, say, a Holy Empire general and having a cavalry unit as the Aztecs, because the Aztecs have no cavalry at all. So to bribe a general and have just one sole cavalry unit for the Aztecs, I think would be absolutely hilarious. I would definitely love to see that at some point. No exploits. Again, there's a video Legend of Total War did on exploits, going through all the exploits you can do in campaign and such. So if you ever want to see what exploits you can do in campaign or how to avoid them, there's obviously that video. I certainly have to view it in order to see what I can and can't do in a campaign. So I use that as a basis of that. We have to fight all battles. Again, most manual battle hot seats now force you to fight all of your battles manually, and if you can't, then you don't get to fight that battle. There's no quick, there's no auto resolve. Even if it's a pathetic little fight, no auto resolve. You have to fight that battle. And with this being a YouTuber hot seat, we have 1 hour to play our turns, or 1 hour sort of turn limit. So I have 1 hour to get this, to finish off this turn. I've been talking for a while now, so I'm probably close to half an hour at this point. But you have an hour to hour term limit, and you have 72 hours maximum to play your turn. So I pretty much played this as soon as I got up this morning. Obviously sleep is going to stop me from actually having to play my turn, but I got up this morning and now I'm playing my turn. So it's kind of been less than the 72 hour limit, but again, you have that 72 hour limit to play your turn and get it sorted. I think 72 hours is gonna be 3 full days. I look at my days in the 24-hour clock, so I class my days as 24 hours, which includes sleep time. I don't know how I feel about that now I've said it, but 24-hour clock, so that's lots of 24 hours, isn't it? So yeah, it would be. So yeah, basically 3 full days to play your turn. That includes sleep time, whilst you're sleeping as well, which again, don't know how I feel about that, but it is how it is. And the last one is to have fun. This is a new campaign. It's a new campaign map. It's obviously it's new for all of us. We've not, unlike the grand campaign where you kind of know where you're going, this is completely new. It's completely exciting, and there's a lot more going on in this one than the grand campaign, where we're surrounded by factions at this stage, whereas Russia generally in the grand campaign is off in a corner on its own. So it's kind of putting the factions in different situations than what would be in the grand campaign. So it's quite nice in that regard, and it means that we can have a lot of fun playing around with how that's going to turn out, which again, it's new to everyone. Everyone's going to have it as a new thing, so it's going to be quite an interesting one. So we do have the faction rankings. I'm going to skip past the AI because the AI cheats. I think I'm going to disclude the AI in just about every faction ranking review that I do. But we're just going to focus on the players, which are, funny enough, all listed all the way over here. So that's quite useful. So overall ranking, we have, in our overall, we have the Holy Roman Empire of the Sunrise Coast, should I say, up at the top, followed by Venice and Spain, it looks like. So those are your top 3 for those. I think we're bottom actually overall. We're kind of down here with Scotland and the Papal States, and the Byzantines slowly falling down with us as well. Military, that looks like Venice is top with the not Venice, the Merchant Republic of Venice. I don't know why he's not changed it, but Venice is a general term, I think. I won't disclude him for that, providing he renames his first settlement Venice. That's important. Hint, hint. No, I'll leave him to that. Holy Empire of the Sunrise Coast is second, followed by, looks like Spain and the Byzantines, both holding quite a high military ranking. We are unfortunately down here, I believe. But we can afford not to have massive armies at this stage. It means that we can get money and things in, and it also means that we can focus on getting higher level troops at a later stage. It also means that we do start in quite a bad position with losing population in some of our settlements, so we do have to sort of focus on that before we start building our military up too quickly. Also, we don't get, in fact, no one will get male knights, will they? Because you need stables in order to get them. So yeah, it doesn't matter. Venice is going to have the most power in this because of that Italian spear militia that they get. So maybe that's to do with the rankings as well. The fact that they get stronger starting troops than a lot of other factions. Look at the production. We are top, but so is Venice, and so is the Holy Roman Empire. So me, Venice, and the Holy Roman Empire are all top. The rest of the factions are sort of either here or sort of falling down here. It's gonna change as the turns evolve, but it's that kind of prospecting that on turn 3 these guys are going to be down here, and we're kind of still going to be on the level. So it's at this stage it's not a major thing to think about. Territorial ranking, again, I don't think anyone has. No one has really taken a lot of territory. I think we're all going to pretty much actually be over here, except for the 2 settlements that the Papal States have. So we're all up at 3 settlements, which is again where we're expected to be. Financially, we're all crashing and burning because we're all spending money on settlement upgrades and things, except for, I think the Papal States is up here actually. Is he? I can see his line here, so I wonder if he's gone I wonder if he's a lot higher than the rest of us are. Again, I can't see the Papal States on my screen. It's white on white really doesn't help. But yeah, the rest of us are sort of down here. We're not crashing too quickly, not as much as the Byzantines, who were probably spending money on troops. Again, Spain on money on troops, Venice money on troops. Yeah, we're all spending money on troops at this point, or buildings and things, so that's to be expected. And then population, we are actually one of the top. Oh yeah, we're not top because the Aztecs are top. So I was thinking, why are we top and not top on the rankings? But yeah, the reason is because the Aztecs are top. But we are top in the players, which is obviously quite a good thing. Then you've got Spain, Holy Roman Empire down here with Scotland, Byzantine's a bit lower, and Venice looks like it's at the bottom. So Venice actually has, out of the player factions, so least population, but the highest military and the quite a high production as well. So yeah, that's quite interesting. We'll see how that dynamic changes. Again, we're top in production and population, but lower in the military side. So again, the starting factions are obviously going to change and have different starting ideals in terms of progression. So that's basically it. As I say, we'll just finish off these buildings and doing our sieges. Turn 3 will prove to be quite an important turn. We won't have that much money to play around with, unfortunately, unless we sack both of these settlements. But we are going to be taking both of these settlements, which again is huge. It's going to impact our faction greatly. It's going to allow us to progress forward with more funds over the next few turns. We're going to have we're going to have most of these buildings done. The stables and the inn. And the brothel, should I say? We'll get the inn probably next turn, just so we've got assassins to play around with. Try and level them up against Captain Holy Shit Army over here. We need to get rid of him or bribe him or something. I'd love to bribe him actually. That's quite a decent army, but I doubt we're gonna have the funds to actually do that. Yeah, it's gonna be a bit harder to do. But yeah, we're gonna be. Finish off these buildings. We're going to be taking these settlements, so we're going to have more to do next turn, more to play around with, and hopefully get a new general as well. So it's going to be quite fun next turn, but this one was just setting up for that, which again I think we're going to have a lot of setting up turns and then big turns, simply because of the way that siege equipment is going to be more important. The siege artillery compared to spies, where you could just literally do things that turn. On a whim. So yeah, we'll look forward to next turn, because it is going to prove to be quite an interesting one. And again, still waiting for you guys to give me your thoughts on direction, where we're going to go. Again, I'm not thinking too much about attacking the Mongols because they are in the hills, but I was thinking maybe moving down this way or pushing against England. The problem with going this way is it is a dead end, and it keeps us further away from the other players, and I don't think the Danish are going to be too much of an issue. I think the Tyranids are going to sweep Egypt aside, and they're probably going to sweep the Moors as well. So the Tyranids are going to be quite a southern powerhouse, which Venice will have to deal with. Not my problem. But yeah, I'm thinking maybe going this way and taking the Turks out, and doing some diplomacy with our Orthodox ally over here in terms of the Byzantines, but we'll see. As I say, I don't mind pushing against England as well and getting a foothold over here, just as long as we're close to the other players. But again, completely up to you guys. I'll leave it with you, just so you can give me your thoughts on how you want us to move out, because as soon as I've taken these two settlements and maybe this one down here, I think there's a castle somewhere over here, then I'm pretty much set for building up and just doing whatever, raids, pillaging land, and just basically doing medieval things like that. So that would be quite interesting. So yeah, waiting for this mission to get hold so we can get some more cavalry in here. Hopefully it will be the cavalry anyway. And yeah, that'd be quite fun. So we'll end the turn. There we are. And we shall save. This is going to be the Papal States turn 2. Excellent. So yeah, that was turn number 2. Sorry it was a bit of a quiet one, but we did manage to go over the rules in a bit more detail and my thoughts on them. So yeah, looking forward to turn number 3, where we will have some fights on our hands. So thank you very much for watching turn number 2, and I shall see you all in the next turn.